Lesson 10.3, Radical Equations, Part 1 of 2 videos. First of all, a radical equation is an equation that contains variables in the radicand. So you'll notice that you'll have variables inside a square root, but it's an equation, so we have an equal sign as well. So there are some key points to solving radical equations. The first of which is to make sure that you isolate the radical on one side of the equation first before you undo the square root. And we can undo square roots, as you remember, by squaring. They're the opposite operation. But before we do that, we have to make sure it's isolated. Then square each side to eliminate the root or the radical, and then solve the equation that remains. Now there's one piece to this that's not here, and that is that when solving with this method, you should always check your answers. Okay, so keep that in mind as you go through your questions, because sometimes you get a solution but it doesn't check, and that would then be called an extraneous solution. All right, so the first one, as we see, we have 9 equals root x. To undo the square root, we will square both sides, which gives us 81 equal x, and we're done. Now again, if we check that, the root of 81 is 9, and 9 equals 9. So not too bad. Now these are okay because they're already isolated. The roots are by themselves on one side of the equation. That's what makes these okay and pretty easy. Okay, so we have a root, a variable in the root, so to get to it we have to undo the square root by squaring, which gives us basically a plus 2, because remember the root and the square cancels each other out. And that will equal 4. We subtract 2 from both sides, and a equals 2. If you plug that back in, 2 plus 2 is 4. The root of 4 is 2. 2 equals 2. Here we have a fraction inside a root, but remember, all we're doing is getting to the information on the inside of the root, and to undo the root we square, so that is not changed. When we do that, the root and the square cancel, and you're left with x over 7, which gives you 81. We'll multiply both sides by 7, which will give us x equals 567. Again, if you check that, 567 divided by 7 is 81. Root of 81 is 9, and it works. All right, I'm going to stop here because the next form of questions involve a little bit more work. So this ends Lesson 10.3, Part 1.